Chapter 2. Vesuvius Comes Alive, August 24th, AD 79. The morning started furiously hot, even hotter than a normal August day, but Pompeii's market traders wasted no time setting up their stalls in the Forum. No one spared a glance for the temple of the Capitoline Triad. Repaired by stonemasons months ago, most people had forgotten it had ever been damaged. So what had happened in Chapter 1 was a few months ago. It was in February, and now in the same year, August, people have long forgotten about the trimmer. From under the shade of a leafy plane tree, a few curious citizens looked on as a wealthy lady paraded through the square in the comfort of her carrying chair with her slaves and attendants. She gazed at the traders busy preparing for a day of good business, as they laid out their wares under the watchful eye of a statue of Mercury, the god of commerce. Do you guys remember who Mercury is in Greek, in the Greek gods? Is it Hermes? Okay. A shoemaker put out his tools, and wine merchants lined up their flagons. Excuse me. Fabric, pottery, wool, bread, honey. Thanks to the ships that came to the nearby port of Puteoli, everything was on sale here as long as the browsers had a few coins in their pockets. No one noticed that the sun was looking unusually hazy in the sky. By 10 o'clock, the market was in full swing. Traders called out their wares. Slaves wandered from stall to stall, buying everything on the day's shopping list. Best quality cloth, perfect for summer robes. Mackerel, fresh fish caught this morning. Fresh fruit, apricots, pomegranates, pears. In a corner, an old man with a stoop was busily adding his own graffiti to Pompeii's local notice board, a city wall. With no telephones or postal service, this was the way most people in Pompeii left messages for each other. But this man wasn't happy with what he saw on the wall, and he decided to say so. He says, "Oh, wall, I can't believe you haven't fallen down under the weight of all these boring messages." He rubbed his hands in satisfaction and turned away, but then his chisel slipped and fell with a clatter to the ground. His eyes were fixed on the horizon as he raised a limp finger to point at what he saw. A blind beggar brushed past him looking for a few spare coins and walked into his outstretched arm. "Give me half a chance, mate. What are you doing sticking your arm out like that? Could cause an injury." But the old man didn't reply. So the beggar moved on, frustrated, still rattling his alms plate. Finally, the man seemed to come to his senses, shouting frantically to the people around him. Passers-by looked over their shoulders until they realized what he was pointing at. Gasps and nervous laughs filled the air. No one heard what the man said next. "Look! The volcano is stirring!" Then he backed away, not looking behind him, his eyes glued to the thin column of smoke coming out of the top of Mount Vesuvius. He looked desperately at the people jostling next to him, but people just shook their heads and turned their backs. Slowly he understood that no one was really listening to him. The people of Pompeii were used to the occasional flurry of activity from Vesuvius. So why is he shouting? "We need to get away quickly before she really explodes." So he's nervous, but no one else seems to be bothered. Only the old man thought of the earthquake a few months ago and made a connection between the two events. Everyone else just smiled, wondering what the gods were upset about this time, and turned back to their business. In his haste to get away, the man stumbled into one of the open aqueducts and kicked his way up the stream of water. As he ran, a large flake of ash fell onto his tunic as softly as a flake of snow. He brushed it away, leaving a dark smear across the pale linen. When he reached his home in Via della Terme, he found his wife sitting next to the fountain in their walled garden. He pulled her roughly to her feet and shouted at her to prepare to leave. "But where are we going?" she asked. "Away from that," he shouted back, his finger pointing at Mount Vesuvius. In the background, without a word, his wife hurried indoors. An hour later, they were hurrying down the street towards one of the city gates, the Herculaneum Gate. From a doorway, a woman was calling her children to come inside. She shook her head as they passed. "We're taking shelter," she called out. "With luck, we can sit this one out." "I wouldn't be so sure," muttered the man under his breath, but he'd always been known for his terrible predictions. No one except his wife ever believed they would come true.